Your ovaries don't just shut down after menopause, they actually get a completely different job. Scientists just figured out what they're doing in there. And it explains a lot about why some women feel like their immune system goes haywire after their periods stop.
Hi there, I'm Tony Lee, and this is Hot Flasher, your daily menopause podcast that serves up fresh news, research, and wellness tips. I've built a daily news pipeline to find the latest on women's health and menopause research. Allow me to introduce my co-host, Nikki, who handles the headlines. Take it away, Nikki.
Thanks, Tony. We've got some fascinating stuff today. So that ovary transformation study really made me rethink what I thought I knew about menopause. We've all heard that our ovaries basically retire after menopause, right? They stop making eggs, estrogen production drops way down, and we assume they're just sitting there doing nothing. Turns out that's completely wrong. This research from Converse and colleagues shows that post-reproductive ovaries actually transform into immune-like organs. They don't just shut down, they literally change their function. Instead of focusing on reproduction, they start supporting your immune system in ways we're only beginning to understand. This could explain why so many women notice their immune systems acting differently after menopause. Maybe you get sick more often, or you develop new allergies, or autoimmune conditions that seem to come out of nowhere. We've been thinking of this as just the unfortunate side effect of losing estrogen's protective benefits. But what if it's actually part of a bigger biological transition that we haven't fully mapped out yet? The researchers found that these transformed ovaries start producing different types of cells and proteins ones that look a lot like what you'd find in lymph nodes or other immune organs. It's like your body has this backup plan we never knew about. I find this oddly reassuring, actually. Instead of thinking about menopause as just loss and decline, maybe we're looking at adaptation. Your body is literally reorganizing itself for a different phase of life. That doesn't make the symptoms any less real or challenging, but it does suggest that there's more biological intelligence at work here than we've given credit for. Now, speaking of symptoms that are very real and very challenging, let's talk about those perimenopausal migraines that are making so many of us miserable. Kamuri's new narrative review digs into why headaches can become such a nightmare during perimenopause. And I mean that literally some women who never had serious headache issues suddenly find themselves dealing with migraines that can knock them out for days. The timing tells us a lot. These aren't just regular tension headaches from stress, though Lord knows we have plenty of that. Perimenopausal migraines have their own patterns. They often cluster around your cycle if you still have one, or they can become more frequent and intense as your hormones start their erratic dance toward menopause. What's particularly cruel is that this often happens to women in their 40s and early 50s who are juggling career peaks, teenagers, aging parents, and all the other delightful pressures of midlife. Then your head starts pounding on top of everything else. The research suggests that the fluctuating estrogen levels during perimenopause are a major trigger. It's not necessarily low estrogen that's the problem, it's the unpredictable ups and downs. Your brain gets used to a certain level, then it drops suddenly, and boom, migraine city. Some women find that their migraines actually improve after menopause, once hormone levels stabilise at their new lower baseline. Others aren't so lucky. But understanding the pattern can help you and your healthcare provider figure out what might work for you. The review emphasises that these migraines deserve serious attention, not just a pat on the head, and advice to take some ibuprofen. If you're dealing with this, you're not being dramatic. You're experiencing a real neurological response to significant hormonal changes. Which brings me to the third piece of research that really struck me today, this study about adverse childhood experiences and how they affect menopause symptoms. The researchers found that women who experience childhood trauma, things like abuse, neglect, household dysfunction, tend to have more severe menopause symptoms and worse quality of life during this transition. This isn't about blame or suggesting that your difficult menopause is somehow your fault because of what happened to you as a kid. That would be ridiculous and cruel. What this research is showing us is that early life stress can literally change how your body responds to later challenges, including hormonal transitions. Think about it from a biological perspective. If you grew up with chronic stress, your nervous system learned to be hypervigilant. Your stress response system got calibrated differently. So, when menopause comes along with its own set of physical and emotional challenges, you might experience them more intensely because your system is already primed to react strongly to perceived threats. The researchers suggest that healthcare providers should consider screening for adverse childhood experiences when treating menopause symptoms, not to pry into your personal business, but to better understand why you might be struggling more than other women who seem to sail through this transition. This could lead to more personalized treatment approaches. Maybe you need extra support for anxiety or sleep issues. Maybe therapy focusing on trauma could actually help with your physical symptoms. Maybe your healthcare team needs to understand that your nervous system might need different kinds of care. I think this research validates something a lot of women already know intuitively, that our bodies keep the score, as they say. The stress and trauma we experienced decades ago doesn't just disappear. It can show up again during vulnerable times like major hormonal transitions. But knowledge is power here. Understanding these connections means you can advocate for more comprehensive care. You can look for providers who understand trauma-informed treatment. You can be gentler with yourself if you're having a harder time than you expected. All three of these studies point to something important. Menopause is way more complex and individual than we've traditionally understood. Your ovaries are doing things we didn't know about. Your migraines have specific patterns related to hormone fluctuations. Your personal history affects how your body handles this transition. The more we learn about these connections, the better equipped we'll be to navigate this phase of life with actual understanding, instead of just gritting our teeth and hoping it passes quickly.
Thanks for listening to Hot Flasher. We're back tomorrow with more, so don't forget to subscribe. See you tomorrow.